Eric Guilfoyle, how are you doing today? Oh, looks like we're looking for the mute button. All right.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I was just pulling up some notes. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing very, very well. Thank you. All right, we've got about 10 people on. We'll give it another minute and hopefully we'll see. I know we got Elaine, one of our panelists. I just heard some great stories about you, Elaine, but I don't want to screw it up. So I'm going to ask you to share some of your awesomeness. And if you guys are having trouble, it's because what's the phrase from Archer? Her awesomeness is so deafening, she's having trouble hearing you. And I encourage everybody, think about the questions you want to ask. I've got a ton of questions. That being said, and Cassie will mute me if I start talking too much. This isn't about me. This is about masterminding and sharing some great values. While we're waiting just 1 or 2 more minutes, how's the market doing for everyone? Yeah. Mindy, when you say what comes to mind, what makes you smile and what makes you sort of frown at the same time?
Getting buyer offers accepted and running ragged with them and that sacrifices my time to have appointments for listings and to do the lead gen while being a solopreneur, trying to also do that admin stuff.
Yep. I like that phrase, solopreneur, if I heard it correctly.
Yes.
Eric, how's the market treating you right now?
It's good to be able to see. I'm excited for kind of a balance in the market again. I think that we've been so focused on seller leads as opposed to buyer leads when there are 2 sides of the market. And when we're beginning to see an evening out, I think we'll begin to focus our shift more on to see the importance of buyers as opposed to just the importance of sellers. So I'm really excited about that. I think it will give more, your ROI for a buyer is extremely low for the last couple of years, where your ROI on a seller was extremely high. So I think that we almost forgot part of the market, and I think it's good to get back into it.
Dante, how's the market treating you?
So far, I've actually, so I haven't been doing real estate that long. I've only been doing it a few weeks, actually. So I've been learning a lot within those few weeks, especially with lead generation. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to focus on right now.
Well, you picked a great time to get into it. I've been in it just under 30 years. I started off as a loan officer. First 2 weeks, interest rates went from 9.5 to 10. And I was so ignorant and new to the industry. People explained to me why they were freaking out, and I didn't understand. Like, yes, so they hit double digits, and had I known, I wouldn't be on this. Had I appreciated their challenge, I wouldn't be on the Zoom today. Mr. Erdman, how are you?
Outstanding, sir. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. Very well. So as a side note too, we'll get going in just a couple minutes. We may have some Murphy's Law. We got one panelist I think hopefully is going to be showing up in just a second. And then we've got another who's being a little late. So Elaine, I don't know if you're prepared for this, but your awesomeness is going to have to possibly light the path for the next 10, 15 minutes. Can you handle it?
I'll take the challenge.
All right. So again, folks, we hope this is interactive. Please feel free to use the chat, as well as Mindy just shared, she paid 9% at first house in 1987, as well as don't hesitate to speak up. The reason why we did this panel, and again, we're hoping a couple people will show up that I know have some challenges, is just to mastermind. There's so many ways to do this business right. And I always love to know what drives people, what motivates them, why they chose the path that they did. But my excitement, again, I don't want to make sure I don't hog the mic. So Cassie, mute me anytime you need to. And Dorothy Mills, our second panelist, just arrived. Thank you so much, Dorothy. We're excited to have you here. As a side note, and Brooke, you had a question. Or excuse me, Mindy, I think it was. You have your hand raised.
I do. It's just kind of piggybacking off of what I said earlier about, juggling all of this plus the admin. I looked into Cyberbacker just to kind of help. And even part-time is $900 a month, which is not in my budget right now. And I'm just looking for other suggestions for leveraging some of the admin that's not gonna eat up all my profits.
Do you have contract to close in your market center?
I have a TC, but he does not, as he said to me, he is not my admin assistant.
I pay contract to close. It's $395 on the list side, $295 on the buy side, and they do everything. You should talk to I can put you in touch with the
But
person
when
who
you
does
say
it.
everything, you're talking about everything that's related to an individual transaction. I'm talking about all the other stuff, like.
Yep, totally. Yeah, this is just the most cost-effective way for me without bringing somebody on, because I don't pay them if I don't do deals, which is great.
Well, my TC is the same.
Yeah.
He does everything specific just to that transaction. It's about all the other admin stuff that I could use assistance with, other type of marketing. Even somebody to go through my emails and return phone calls in a more timely manner while I'm out with other clients.
Got it.
I've got some suggestions, and maybe Cass, if you could take a note, help us circle back to this. I'll introduce our panelists. And I don't pretend that I'm going to part waters, but our panelists may have some great suggestions for you guys. I've got some imperfect suggestions that have helped over the years, and everything from virtual to closing corners, including, and Will, your contributions appreciated, finding out in details what those closing coordinators do at length. I've seen a very differing level of service. And that's, and with humor, I encourage everybody to take a look at leverage and start in this, to cleaning professionals to get yourself back. Many of you heard the story, but actually I'm going to try to shut up and introduce our panelists. So Elaine Birthright Rowe, first and foremost, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure I'm not going to get all your awesomeness correct, but I think Cassie was just telling me that you just made the shift from dual career to full-time focused on real estate. And we also have Dorothy Mills, who joined us as well. Thank you very much, Dorothy. If you get pulled over, I want you to let them know that they can't interrupt the Zoom, and or show your badassery and try to get a referral from the police officer. But since you're driving, Elaine, if you'd introduce yourself, share with us a little bit about your story, the transition, if I understand correctly, that you just made from dual career to full-time. And I heard you might've done something like 30 transactions while you were dual career.
So my name is Elaine Birthright Rowe, and I did work a full-time job, 8 to 5. Just to give you a little bit about me, is that I not just only worked a full-time job, but my husband and I were involved in the church. So our church is over 1,200 people. So we were the directors for a department that had about 15 different people under me that we had to manage. And then I have my husband, and I have my kids, and I have my parents that I deal with. So it wasn't just, having a dual career, you have life. Right. So I got into real estate in 2019, very eager, very headstrong, want to get this done. Didn't know how I was going to do it because I was working a full-time job, 8 to 5. But I first thing I started doing was I went to my PC. He told me, how are you going to do this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it. I'm determined. And I think in the first 2 months that I was here, 2 or 3 months, I sold my first house. And then I went to, in the next 2 months and a half, I sold 3 houses total. I think I'm up to 51 homes now that I sold in a matter of 2 years, maybe 53, because I just sold one last couple of weeks, so maybe 53 in the last 2 years. And I just resigned from my job last week.
How'd that feel?
So it's not that it can't work, it is possible. It's just really just prioritizing. When I did my 8 to 5, it was 8 to 5, their work after, it was my job, my work. I'm doing this. I did not have a admin. I did all my paperwork myself. I just hired an admin this year, January. So within those 2 years, I did everything. Um, Processing lawyers, everything. I did everything from beginning to end, as well as still managing my family. I did get my family involved in my business. When I say that, they are part, when I do closings, they're shouting, they're running around the house with me. I kept my family together in that sense because sometimes it did get crazy. I didn't say I had long nights, I did, but I was willing to do it because it was my business, right? And I did do some courses. I did courses when I could because I worked full time. But it's just determination, watching videos, hearing what people are doing. I used to, when I first started, I used to go to homes, make arrangements, schedule homes, and I would take a video. I had a video guy come with me, and I just went through the homes, and I did like a HGTV. That's how I started getting it. And I started putting it on Facebook. My husband started advertising for me with business cards. I think I went through 400 business cards in less than 2 months. Sorry about that. In less than 2 months. So he worked for me as well. He worked. He did my jobs for me by advertising for me in any way he could. Family members, they helped me out. I got a lot of referrals, a lot of referrals, and I love to talk. Probably like you, Brian, I love to talk. So I love talking to people. I love meeting people. So that helped me out, you know, and I love to attract people. My parents always told me that from I was a young child. I just always had a lot of friends. So I always tell about my business. Oh, do you know I do real estate? Oh, do you know I do real estate? I don't care who you are. I walked up to people in the store and I was like, I do real estate. Are you looking for a home? And that's how my business kind of just boomed.
And so, yeah, if you did give or take 51 transactions, so you're averaging, I think in a couple of years, 26 or so a year. The average American does 6 to 7, transactions, and you were doing it while you had a full-time job. That's amazing. Now I'm dying to ask you some questions, and I'm sure the group is. Dorothy, I'd love to hear from you. If I remember correctly, you've been in the business, what, 2.5, 3 years now? I think first year you sold 15, last year 37. And you've already capped in 22. Tell us.
Yeah. So I capped today. I closed my 12th deal for the year. So I did a cap today, which was kind of cool, very neat. So this is actually I'm starting my third year. So my reset date is December 1st. So, but I also have started a team last, so I have 3 agents on my team. Because I was, so I'm a single mom. I went through a divorce my first year of real estate. So I was going through the divorce and saying, I'm going to do this because you just need that determination. I agree with everything she said. You have to have that determination. But so I had no help whatsoever. I had no help the first year. Everything was referral and I was just working really hard. And of course it was COVID year. So you just have to keep really just working hard for anything you got. And then I decided I didn't want to do it alone. So I grabbed a team member, somebody that was in my office, and we worked together. And I had all these leads, and I needed some help with, putting the signs in the ground and doing the different things that women just can't do alone. So I found my team member, and then I added another one, and I have an admin now and a transaction coordinator. But I've been pretty successful, and I really do enjoy it. A lot of it now I'm seeing is a lot of referrals coming in, which is super fun and exciting. And I think a lot of it is just personally talking and communicating with everybody you meet and talking to your clients and making sure that those clients know that you need referrals. And if they don't know that, then you're doing something wrong. So yeah, that's how I did it.
Appreciate that. And please, to all our guests, please feel free to, again, ask some questions or jump in, but I'll start with one for each of you. How did you mentioned you got to have that determination. How do you stay in touch with it? And what was your driving force?
Well,
I can go first if you want.
go ahead, Dorothy.
I was going through a divorce. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to let him get away and win. So I was like, I'm going to go through this and get as best as I could, and do the best I absolutely could. And so that's what my driving force was originally. And now it's just, it has any. So that's where I am.
Elaine, what's your number one driver and how do you stay in touch with it?
Coming from, and I'll go back a little bit, coming back from humble beginnings. My mom and my dad, they're from Jamaica. So they're from the West Indies, and they had, but not had the way I would want them to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing was my kids. I got to do this with my family. When I say my family, my husband, my kids, because I want it better for us. And that's my driving force even up to this day. I want better for us, that we can, I can know I can do whatever, and it doesn't, financial wise, and it doesn't bother me. You know, I love to help people. I've done some crazy things, been able to give. So I want to be that person that can give back to people that I know who are in need.
That's both is huge. As a side note, one of the things I think is important, you guys disagree if you want, is the ability to stay in touch with that driving force and really write it out and spell it out. Because I'm going to guess that you two never have a challenging moment. You never wonder what you're doing. That was a joke. So how do you find time to have the life worth living? Is that something that you feel like, hey, I'm building my business, I'm going to get to a place that I can have it right now, I'm just going to build? Or do you guys, Elaine, you mentioned one of the things, you involved your family in the business. How do you embrace being an independent agent and still living that thing that drives me, that Keller Williams talks about, a life worth living?
So I'm continually keep on driving for my future. I have not arrived, never have. And I am driving to, my kids are young, so they're going to be going to college. So I have to drive myself to make it and allow them to have a better life, and for my husband and I to have a better life. So it's a continuous drive. I am continuous reaching goals and setting more additional goals, right? So I'm constantly setting goals for myself and my family. I think Matt has this year, Matt, I think we spoke, and just setting different goals for myself and just saying, okay, I've reached this level. What else do I need to go to get to the next level to maintain my future?
Dorothy, how do you keep having a life worth living? Again, are you building towards it? Are you balancing time now? How do you do it amongst amongst the chaos?
Yeah, well, so I'm definitely trying to do that I have my challenges. I am obviously a stay-at-home mom, so it's my 3 daughters, and my oldest is a senior. She just graduated college. So I have definitely understand the feeling of, getting there and making sure that they have everything they need. But I also need to have a little bit of a life and have that time for me too. So that's part of the reason why I have the team. So I can kind of give them a little bit more of my, a little bit of what is overwhelming for me. They take away from me, take a little of that away from me. So I can have my admin is also a buyer's agent, so she can actually show a house for me here and there if I can't do it. So I have to be able to have a little bit of a life, otherwise I cannot breathe. And you have to be able to have both. So it's not worth it if you can't use it. So I do try to take off one weekend a month, not always successfully, or I try to do at least one day a month, at least one weekend day a month. I try to do one day a week where I do not do real estate, but you still have the texts and the emails and the calls. But I try not to show any houses on one day. And I try to do a vacation once a quarter. So, that 1-3-7 thing. So I'm trying. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I'm definitely trying, but I work really hard. Yeah. So.
You just touched on something. I think some of the best speakers who bring value, probably many of them will agree that they're both students as well as disciples of what they're promoting. So with the two of you, it seemed like one is, I'm guessing your SOI is one of your largest business, because Elaine, you talked about going through the store, just letting everybody know. Dorothy, I think you might have mentioned something similar. What are your how many lead sources do you think you have, and what are your best, lead sources or your go-tos?
You want to go first?
You can go first, Dorothy.
Okay, sorry. So my first year it was all just farming my neighborhood. I farmed everything, and my house is in a small town in New Hampshire. So I just farmed everything, made sure everybody knew I was a real estate agent. And I was that mom that just dropped her kids off from school and went home and did not talk to anybody. So it was a very big change for me to go knock on people's doors and be like, oh, yeah, I'm a real estate agent, I live next door. So it was very awkward for me. So the first year was very much that. The second year, I took some of the money that I actually earned and I put it into the business, and I started doing leads, buying leads. So I have been doing that. And the second year I was using, and I just overwhelmed with how many leads I was getting. And that's why I brought on the team member and helps with that. So I think if you know how to market yourself with buying leads, sometimes that helps as well. And this year I've seen mostly referrals. So I think as you grow your business, things change, and the business changes with it. And it's like ebbs and flows, but the lead sources come from different areas when you get through it, is what I'm feeling. That's how it happens for me. So.
Excellent. Elaine.
So with me at the beginning, it was just trying to get my name out there, doing a lot of Facebook, Instagram, putting my face out in the public. But now I do a lot with brokers. So I work with brokers who actually just refer their clients to me.
Like so these people, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so I even work with a Bank of America person. When they're not able to structure that loan for them, they send them to me. So I have a lot of people that I talk to. So taking care of if you have a client that's working with a broker, that's how I get to meet a lot of these brokers. They go to a broker, and then I become friends with them. And they're like, listen, I need you. I like the way you work. And, that's always maintaining your who you are and taking care of clients. People notice that. They notice that, and they want to send their clients to you. Like, I have a broker, she's like, listen, you're my agent in Connecticut, and that's who I'm sending all my clients to. So that helps a lot by just, connecting with people. And now I do get referrals. I do get a lot of referrals, but I also get brokers and bankers that I work with that refer their clients directly to me.
Any bankruptcy attorneys, divorce attorneys in that mix?
Not yet, but I'm looking for them.
So encourage everybody. This is really some good information. Where I was sort of going to is, hopefully in the long term, we develop 3 to 5 strains lead, but I'd also argue market resilient leads, i.e., divorce challenge and so forth. So one of my favorite questions, and I want to make sure we're getting questions from the audience, because you guys can tell I'm meek, I'm quiet. I'm a little nervous right now. What's the one thing that you would do differently, knowing what you know now, and how would that have impacted your career?
I think Dorothy wants me to go next because she's still thinking like I'm thinking. What I know now, I don't think I would have done anything differently. And that's just me. I think I set my path, and I think I'm happy with what I've accomplished, honestly. Could I have done more? Sure, all the time. That's a given. I could have done more. But I think what I have done so far, I'm happy and pleased of the road that I've trotted. Right. Going forward, yes, there are some different things that I definitely want to do different, but I don't think I wouldn't have changed anything. I learned a lot of stuff and to help my business, and I think it was just good what happened. I'm proud of what I've done so far and what I've accomplished. Going forward, yes, I can definitely do more stuff.
Love it. Dorothy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think that I could have done things differently. I feel like I worked so much and so hard that I forgot to take breaks for myself. That is one of the things that I'm struggling with right now that I'm working on. But I definitely feel like that I should have done a better job with my CRM stuff, because that is where I'm definitely lacking. I'm on the first to say I'm not perfect, because I don't do things perfectly all the time. I make mistakes all the time, and my clients will know it, and I will be the first to say, right now I have a broken foot from a showing. I do things like that all the time. But I think that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to move forward and be yourself and show people that you're a human, and just continue to grow. And so I feel like there's always more to grow, and there's always more to learn. And that's how I approach it. Just make sure those clients know that you're a human being, and that, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be, the top agent in everything you do. You just have to be there for them. So that's kind of how I ran it, even though I wasn't perfect and I didn't do everything I should. So yeah, I think my CRM is where I'm lacking. I don't go in there as much as I should, and I really wish I had, because man, that would be really fantastic right now.
Well, one of my favorite quotes comes from the Book of Joy. We are all masterpieces in the making. So we're all masterpieces in the making. So do we have any questions from the audience? Because I got a ton of questions. I can keep going. I love talking to people who are taking chances, growing themselves. But do we have any questions from our audience? Well, interrupt us if we do, because I'll keep going. What would you recommend to somebody who said, wow, I see you guys and what you've done in 2 years? What would you recommend to these people so that they can hopefully share the success that you have had, and provide, and very, it sounds like family's huge for both of you, and to provide for their family? What recommendations you'd have to somebody who's new into the industry?
Communication with those clients. Do not give up communication. Do not rely on just emails. Communicate with those clients. If it's a lead, communicate. I want you to text. I want you to call. I want you to say, hey, I'm just thinking of you. I just drove past your favorite restaurant. Anything you can think of, just to get in front of them and to talk to them. That's the biggest thing that I use. I'll just text them first thing in the morning. You know how, like, you set up a search in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
You set up a search for Paragon or whatever it is that you guys use up there. I don't know what you use, but your search, your MLS search, and then it sends you the email as well of all the searches. And I just go through and say, oh my gosh, I found this house this morning. I thought maybe you'd like to see this one. I'll just send it to the different clients that I haven't heard from in a while, so that they know that I'm still there, that I'm still alive, that I still want them to reach out to me. So it's literally just keeping that tabs on them. And most of the time, people like texting. It's not about necessarily calling them. It's not the emails. Emails get right into the trash. But a lot of I'm not saying don't do any emails, but I'm just saying that a lot of times that emails are not what they look for. It's the text. It's that personal touch. That text there, everybody picks up their phone. It's right there in their hands. So I just feel like texting and calling and making sure that you're in touch with those people. That's how I did it. That's literally my only key.
Another favorite phrase, C equals R, the conversation is the relationship. Elaine, what would you suggest? Oh, you're muted.
I definitely agree with Dorothy. Keeping in contact. Sometimes I'll just say, hey, I'm just thinking about you. Hey, yeah. I just definitely saw a house. Even with my current clients, I'm like, so that they always feel that you have them, like you're their only client that they have. Right?
Isn't it funny? You can have 20 clients and they always think that you're the only one.
They're the only one that I'm dealing with. And that's what they say to me, Elaine, you always respond right away. You always, you always send me stuff, or, do you have other? Yes, I do. And a whole lot, but I make them feel so important. And I think making your clients feel like you are dedicated just to them makes them feel very special. And they always remember that. They'll always say to me, Elaine, you helped me out so much. You made the process so much easier, because you're communicating, like Dorothy said, communicating, sometimes over communicating, just so that they know that you're looking ahead, right? So you're not just looking at the now, but you're trying to make sure get them set up in the right position to purchase that house. And sometimes it's not even about the house. Sometimes just being personal with them on a personal level. You know, how's your cat? How's your dog? How's your mom? How's your sister?
Yeah.
You know, being on that personal level, they so much appreciate that. And they will refer you to Kingdom Come, you know, because they're going to say, oh, I got it. I got my sister's looking for a house. And that's how I get a lot of my referrals. It's just because they're like, Elaine, I just liked your personality and I liked who you are.
That's exactly right. The first thing I'll do when I'll get an online lead or a lead that comes in, I find that connection, whether it's like, no matter what it is, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're looking in New Boston or you're looking in this town.
Yeah.
You know what? I have my daughter does dance there, or my son, you know, whatever it is. Oh, you have a dog. I can hear him in the background.
Yep.
I will find that little connection and I'll say, oh, I have 3 dogs or whatever it is. I find that connection because that is what makes you stand out over anybody else. And so I agree. And then also being very honest. If you're walking into a house and you know this house is not going to work for them, don't force it on them. Just tell them it's probably not your house and go right and say, yeah, let's go. We know this is it. And they respect that and they love that. So yes, it took an hour for you to drive there and show them this house that's not theirs, but they respected the fact that you knew that. And so just being honest with them. Yep.
So, and again, folks in the audience, use the chat or even just interrupt but I still have a ton of great questions and these guys are I'm growing out of this. So thank you both. I hope we are. What was the first thing, or maybe you haven't, that you started to let go? Like, so in one of the games, you know, guys, before you answer that question, I think there's several ways to do this right. I know independent agents who love being independent forever and a day. Certainly we've seen some like Dorothy who started to grow a team. What was the first thing that you started to either delegate or give up, and how hard was it for you to do that?
Gosh, I still have trouble with that.
Yeah, I'm with Dorothy too, because literally 2 years of doing my own paperwork, 2 years of going to inspections and just doing everything myself. Recently just gave up to an admin and said, listen, I can't do this anymore. So it took me time to give it up. So it's not as easy as saying, you know, I just give it up, because you want to make sure you're meeting all the needs of your clients. And I wasn't sure giving it up was going to happen. Like, I didn't want to change the dynamics of my business. So it took me a long time. My PC kept on saying, Elaine, you got to do it because you're having so much business, it's slowing you down. And I said this year, okay, I'm just going to do it. And I did it, and it freed me up where I can be out there more. I don't have to worry about this. They'll just email me and say, Elaine, this is okay. Yep, do this, this, and that, and I'm done. So it takes time because you kind of want to hover over everything. You're like a mother. You just want to hover.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think the best thing I ever did was a transaction coordinator, for sure. Yep. She runs my life. She's amazing. I don't even have to, I get it under contract and it's gone. And I oversee it, obviously, but she puts everything in my calendar and I don't have to worry about anything. And then I'm just still selling. So that to me was the best thing that ever happened. My admin, I went through one and I just found a new one that's actually an agent as well. So now she can do showings with me and talk to my clients on the phone, which is 10 times better than just a basic admin. So this has been, she has just, I've only had her for now, I think this is her 3rd week, and she's already been amazing help. So that I love. So I think eventually that's going to help me too. I don't want to give up the fact that I'm showing houses. I know a lot of agents will have buyer's agents just show houses for them, but I feel like that you lose a little bit of the personalization with your clients, and I'm not ready to do that. So I feel like that would change my business too much. So I'm just thinking behind the scenes stuff, and only if I have too many showings will I use somebody to cover me for showings.
And that's where, again, I really love the information because there's so many ways to do this right. Now, Elaine, did you just hire full-time? Did you hire, part-time? How did you mention you had an admin? Are they contract basis? Are they dedicated full-time, half-time? And, did you set aside their salary, or did you just say, with humor, I'm just going to give it up? And I know you didn't,
No, they're contracts, per contract. I I didn't want to, like, again, I'm just thinking about financially every which way, what's going to work for me. Now, everybody's different, so you have to figure out what works for you. I did
Mhm.
her contract, and it works for me because she takes on everything. I signed a contract, like Dorothy said, send it over, and they're managing it until the end, right?
Nice.
So I oversee it, make sure everything is going well, but she puts all my dates up for me, so I don't have to deal with all that.
Mhm. So that's my transaction coordinator. I have a transaction coordinator and I also have an admin that's part-time for my team. So it's not only me, but it's them. And that she does my flyers so I can keep doing my mailings. She'll put together my listing presentations. She'll put together the stuff for my open houses, anything like that. She puts it all together for me. And she's been fantastic. So it's really great. And she also will help me anytime I need. She'll schedule. She can if I'm on the road, she can schedule things. She can actually write up an offer for me, and that and I'll obviously oversee it and look it over before I send it out to my client. But she's an agent, so she can do all that stuff for me. So when you're out on Saturday and you're out showing houses from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. and you have a deadline. An offer deadline of 6 p.m. and there's no way you can get that offer written. It's great to have somebody there to do that for you. So she's a part-time agent, but for a certain amount of hours per week. And we just make sure that that's enough for her, that she has enough flexibility where we work that through. And I love it.
Now, did you, Dorothy, because one of the questions today, she may not be on right now. Actually, Mindy, I think you still are on. Did you just sort of swipe the credit card and put it and hire the person? Or did you say, all right, I'm going to have X in my pipeline, and when I have X in my pipeline or X in my bank account, I'm going to go hire this person? What helped you get to that point? And Mindy, I appreciate the question earlier, because that's one of the toughest things that I see is, I'm rambling. But what helped you get to that point? And did you do anything to prep, or did you just swipe the visa and say, hire the person?
For me, I actually made sure I had the amount a certain amount in my bank account, because that's where it's coming out of. So I had to have that, nest egg in there. And I had a certain amount that I wanted to have in there to make sure that I could do this, because I don't want to think about, do I have enough money in there to pay her? I wanted to just come out automatically and just have her paid weekly. So that's how I do it. And then, it just actually, since I had an admin, I've seen an increase in my business. It's just easier for me to get out and do things and to actually be selling versus being in the house. Oops, and I think my phone is dying.
And so I think is with the MREA that said they put 3 months aside of the person's salary, and that's where Mindy, I'd love to, if you have any questions too, I'd recommend that is just don't go out and put them on Visa, but make sure obviously you get your own 3 months reserves, and you can put 3 months of the person's salary inside, and I think if you lean on your ATL, your OP, your PC, I'm not going to say you're going to get the perfect hire right out of the gate, but you got a better chance of getting a better hire. In Elaine, are you looking to grow to a full admin? Or are you just extremely happy with TC right now? What are your thoughts for the future?
Right now, I'm okay. But in the future, definitely, like Dorothy, definitely would love to build a team. But for right now, I'm good.
And Mindy, do you specifically have any questions? Because you were some challenged by earlier on leverage. And a side note, I didn't love that word leverage at first, felt wrong. But Mindy, any questions for Dorothy or Elaine to help you sort of take a look at the next step?
Well, for me, it's about finding somebody that I can trust, that's not going to give away any of my business, that I'm like nurturing, because there is that fear factor, especially if I hire somebody who is licensed. And then, the cost.
Yeah. And my guess is everybody on here not only takes their own finances personally, but before we put somebody else at risk to, that's like when COVID was shut down, you really want to make sure, you had the reserves there. Any questions? And we may have one. Let me just check the chat, because again, I still got to get 1,000 of them. I love doing this stuff. So Mindy, you're right. Lead with revenue, as Gary Keller says. Financial health. Have you developed any habits to help you with your financial health And if so, what were those habits? Because I know a lot of agents, I know independents, I know team owners, top producers always seem to be challenged with the IRS. What financial habits did you put in place to keep you sane and keep you in in profitable territory?
Well, I can go with that. I know that was a struggle for me because I didn't know my butt from my elbow when it came to financial, tax wise. So I hired an actual accountant who is pretty much, I just send her my information and she does everything for me. So I don't have to worry about it. It's really been so beneficial. So she has all of my statements, all of my accounting, everything I need. She just takes care of it and just says, this is business, this is not. And everything is separated, obviously, from a business account versus personal accounts anyway. And then you just kind of do it that way. And she just kind of said, this is how you do it and told me what to do. So, because, you don't realize you don't realize how much money you can actually make in this business until you make it. And I was floored with, I'm like, what? I made what? So, you don't even realize what you're making. So it's kind of neat.
Elaine, any financial habits that you've grown or put in place as you developed your business?
So just like Dorothy said, you're making money and you really don't realize how much money you're really making. I think last year I was kind of shocked. I was like, what? Really? And so definitely keeping the business separate from personal to business, right? Your tax person, make sure you're very connected with your tax person, because they can give you little tips here and there on, if you made this amount, this is what you need to keep for the IRS, right? So definitely, because we're gonna have to pay the IRS. Sorry, my computer's dying. We know you're contractor, so you're gonna, that's just a given. So prepare yourself so that you don't get into that place of, oh my God, I'm now over $70,000 in tax and I don't know how I'm going to get out, right? So be mindful of that. My sister, who was a contractor, who's a nurse, she was a contractor nurse, she always said to me, taxes, remember your taxes, remember your taxes. She was my person behind me saying, remember, you better pay your taxes, because in the end, you're going to owe a lot of money. So working with your tax person is always helpful, because no matter what, don't say, well, I'm not making that much money now, but you will be making that much money, right? So don't wait until it happens. Prepare yourself already, right? Go out and prepare yourself and set yourself up so that you won't fail, right? So you're going to need a tax person. Get that tax person. Don't try to do taxes yourself. Try to set it up where you're going to somebody and they can help you and assist you and tell you figures. If you make such amount, remember to put such and such amount away.
That's huge. The other thing both of you talk about is your accountant or your bookkeepers, is basics, and you probably guys do, is separate credit cards. My bookkeeper logs into my credit cards once a month, downloads the statements, and automatically assigns. Now, I'm sure she would assign it better if I did that, but it just makes it easy, and trust is a big thing. Mindy, what are the questions, come to mind that you have? It seems like you're at an interesting point in your career, looking forward to the next step, and any other questions you'd have for our two amazing guests? All right, so let me ask you guys this. What, if anything, are you doing with eyes to the future? Are you putting aside money to buy a property? It sounds like, Elaine, you're very happy right now. You might one day, hire an assistant. What are you doing to, again, prepare for that life worth living? You setting money aside, you buying real estate. What would you recommend to other independent agents to think about to make sure that we're doing this business as long as we want to? And I think many of us love it, but we're not doing it with humor well into our hundreds. I hope to go 110, personally.
So I can go for this one. The team, my thing is the team. I'm not going to be doing this till I'm 90. I'm going to have this team, hopefully, that takes over and runs it. And then I'm going to just sit back and say, I'm drinking pina coladas on the beach somewhere. You guys are making and selling all these houses. So I think that's where I'm going to be. I don't want to be, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I don't want to give it up anytime soon. However, I want to train people and have this great little empire that, will eventually feed me into my, older years so that I can, retire and enjoy that. I don't think now is a good time to buy real estate at all. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So
Elaine, what would your answer be?
One of the things I always hear when you're talking about investments and you're talking about future, your life, one of the things I was always told is have 4 sources of income coming into your house, right? At all times. So I tell my husband, I need 4 types of incomes coming into my house at all times. So setting yourself up for that, whether it's real estate or what you love to do or something else, or a business, another small business or property. I told my husband as well, before I even started real estate, I want a 3-family house for each of my kids, right? So when they decide to go to college or whatever, the money that it's producing every month, that will be their money, right? Whether to pay for their college or to pay for whatever they like to do with it. But I'm setting my family up for the future for that. So investments. This year, I'm totally minded about investing, right? Investing in property, investing in my family, investing in my life, on trying to set myself up. So I am retiring at age 65. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing, but I'm gonna retire. And hopefully I am gonna have money coming to me, and I'm not gonna be looking for money to go and get. All right. So with those 4 type of investments coming in, then money will start coming to me, and I'll be good. And I'll still do real estate. I always tell my kids I will still do real estate because I love what I do. But I'm setting myself up for financial success.
Elaine, that's just diversification. Yes, I agree with that. Perfect.
Well, I want to welcome Carolyn Weaver, who just made it on. She's one of, I hope, excuse my language, they're probably still recording, one of our badass independents in the state of Vermont. She also runs a coaching business as well. Mindy, I'd love to ask your question and then ask Carolyn a couple as well. And Elaine, I think that was great angles, not only because, the multiple streams, which I hope you guys all replicate within your real estate business as well. I always say 3 to 5, so 4 is right on, but in your personal life as well, plus what properties can do for us as real estate professionals. But Mindy's question was, how do you keep, and Carolyn, love your 2 cents on this as well, how do you keep your business consistent instead of peaks and valleys?
I think there's always ebbs and flows. I think there's always ebbs and flows. Always. I mean, there's just nothing you can do about that. I mean, the market goes up and down, and you just have to remember that you have that bank account that's ready for that. So when you're high, don't go spending and buying huge amounts of things. You just keep that in there, and knowing that there's a flow there, ebbs and flows. So you know that it's coming, you know that it's there. So you just make sure that your bank account has that in there, so that when it does come, it doesn't go down too far. So you just make sure that you're aware of it. There is no answer to that, because there's no way to control that.
Definitely agree. One real estate agent always, every time I saw her, not that she was with Keller Williams, but she would see me, she was like, Elaine, save your money, because there's going to come a time where it's going to dip, and then it's going to come a time when it rises. When it rises, make sure you set yourself up, you get those investments, you get that money coming in, so it never feels like you're so low, even when the market goes up and high. So I think, again, setting yourself up. Yes, you're getting that $10,000 check. My parents would always say, put half of it aside and do whatever you want with the other half, but make sure you set yourself up so that you would never, it's like you set yourself up to never go broke, right? So no matter what the market does, you're fine, right? So don't say I got $10,000. No, I only got $2,000 to spend and save the rest.
That's huge. Carolyn, appreciate you making, know you were straight out today. So Carolyn's been in the business, I'm thinking, what, 20, give or take, years? You did about 25 transactions last year, 10 million. You also run a coaching business. How do you make it steady and avoid the peaks and the valleys, or minimize them?
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, so I think what everyone's saying is exactly like spot on. Like you have to have a reserve for those months when you're not going to get paid, right? And understand what your expenses are and what what you're doing there. In the peaks and the valleys, I mean, I've been doing this for over 25 years and they're going to come. And I think Brian and I had a conversation about realtors that get that like Elaine was saying, you get that $10,000 check, right? And you're like, I'm going to the Mercedes dealership, right? And then next thing you know, you're turning it back in because you're not making that money anymore. So you just have to be really conservative with what you're doing. And that's hard for me because I'm a spender. I love to spend money. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, and it's spot on. I only laughed, I chuckled a little bit because we were talking the other day, Carolyn. But I also heard that their used car dealerships are expecting a lot of Mercedes, Bugattis, because of a lot of real estate agents had a couple banner years and didn't develop the good habits. Because all we're really talking about right now is habits. Will, you had, thank you for your contribution earlier. Will Van Wickler, what is your question for our panelists today?
I actually wanted to chime in. I had a great coaching session with MAPS coach Jay Ritchie, and he said, Will, consistent income is a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
Don't throttle your lead generation. And that has stuck with me to this day. If you want the consistent income, you got to stay on the schedule.
Yeah.
And
the hardest things I'm grappling with is the bold law. If it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist.
exactly. And I'll say, personally, a goal for me has been one investment property a year. And I think reading The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, it's always a good time to buy. So you don't want to go in with that limiting belief, which is big. So setting yourself up for your future. If you can buy one a year for 10 years, that's your retirement.
Yeah. And the taxes, us being real estate professionals, the tax benefits is huge. So we've got 5 minutes left. You guys have been very kind. Again, Carolyn, really sick you're able to join us. Elaine, loved hearing your story, as well as Dorothy. Anybody have any additional questions that come to mind for our three panelists? They're doing a phenomenal job. They're embracing Indy. One's growing a team. One's left dual career. One owns, a separate business. Carolyn, what, if any, additional questions do you have for these amazing panelists? All right, well, then I'll ask a couple more. So Carolyn, I asked this of our other two panelists earlier. Knowing what you know now, what, if anything, would you do differently in the beginning of your career? And how would that have changed your business?
So here's what I would do at the beginning. I lost a lot of time at the beginning of my career because I didn't understand the importance of keeping track of your past clients, right? I didn't understand the importance of that. So I would have started making sure you have a record of everyone you've sold to. You have a record of anyone who's bought through you. You have a record of where they live, what their dog's name is, what their kids are, and really keep in touch with them in a very high level, right? Not just sending them general emails or general things, but really reaching out to them. And I know Brian knows me. So what I do every, 2 times a year, I reach out individually to every single person that I've ever bought or sold with. And it is a soul sucking experience. I call it 26 days of pain. 26 days of pain is what I call it, because it is painful. So what I do is I every day I take a letter for 26 days, last name ABC, right? 26 letters in the alphabet. And I power through it and contact every person in my database. So it's a lot of work, but it pays off. And that's what I would tell my beginning self, to keep in touch with your clients, because next thing you know, they've listed with someone else, they're using someone else to buy. They're saying, I just picked up someone last week who said, oh, I thought you were too busy to help me. I only wanted to buy a small house. I'm like, I'm always available to help you, so you have to keep in touch with them, because the longer you're in your career, the more people think they're bothering you. Oh, we thought we were bothering you. You're not bothering me. This is what I do. Get in touch with me. So that's what I would tell anybody. Just keep track of your clients. They're not only are they your referral base, but they're going to recommend you to other people that will be referring you. And I think Brian and I had a long conversation with that. It's not just that one person, it's your impact on their whole family and the people that they know. So that's what I would do.
Probably our last question is it's 1:59 and I can't stress enough. Thank you not only to everybody, but especially our panelists. How are you, what if anything are you doing in your business to deal with the shift we're starting to experience? How are you operating differently, if at all?
I have a very strong lender that I use, and I make sure that the lenders are very much in contact with my buyers. So that's first things first. I make sure my buyers and my lenders are connecting and talking so that they're aware of what they're actually able to spend and what they're not able to spend. And so that's been number one with me. So my lender partners, they are number one right now with me. We are completely in cahoots. So that's been a huge thing for me. I mean, you definitely see that the difference is definitely showing here. I don't know about there, but it's definitely showing here. And so I feel like that's been a number one for me.
Beautiful. Carolyn, what if anything are you doing differently in the shift?
I'm not, the one thing I'm doing differently is what I just described, that 26 days of pain that I do twice a year. I usually do it in January and then in October. And now I'm going to make that three times a year to contact everyone. So that's the only difference I'm doing. I'm just stepping that up a bit. And I always have these conversations with my marketing partners, say, what can we do? What can we do? And it's not the time to really go nuts and change your whole business plan. It's more like double down on what works. And it's mostly everyone. If you look at my board in my office, someone came in and said, where do you get all your business? And it's all past clients and referrals. I mean, so you have to work that, you really have to work that. That's what I'm doing. Unfortunately, Brian, again, so I'll be here in my office doing that. So drop by and bring me a candy bar or something.
I still think I have your bag of chips from last week, but Karen has them. Elaine, what if anything are you doing differently as a result of the shift?
Honestly, nothing. Again, just staying in contact with my clients. I'm getting new clients almost every week. So which is still good. Referrals, again, talking to your clients like Caroline and Dorothy said, staying and communicating with them, staying in communication with the lenders, and just really forming that relationship and really making sure, let them know that you're here for them. You're here to help them. And they're always, no matter how long it takes, usually they'll stay around, even though the wave is waving, but they're going to stay around because they know that you're going to help them and you're going to find them the right place.
That's huge. Guys, first and foremost, thank you to everyone for taking the time, especially thanks to our panelists. Carolyn's going to smack me. I'm going to give her a little credit for this because 3 years ago, she challenged me to bring more value to our independent agents. We started doing some masterminds in Vermont, and then I said, hey, let's do this across New England. So I appreciate, Carolyn, you being a domino that had a positive effect. Dorothy, love the energy. Elaine, congratulations on going from dual career badass to and I'm not taking you trust this compliment, very focused. Please feel free to email me at barmstrong. Oh, I got to give one also plug. Laura Gould on here just gave a great suggestion. She's going after estates. So I'll challenge you guys and then I'll thank you.
Got another one yesterday.
Huge. Right now, I think your three panelists brought up the basics, which is huge. That's the pillar, staying in contact. If I challenge anybody to additionally pour down on the basics, look for market resilient leads as you build your 3 to 5. Laura's working on estates. This is going to sound harsh. We always know people are coming in this world. We also know people are always going in this world. Please feel free to reach out to any of our panelists. If you put your contact information in real quick, that'd be awesome. And also, please feel free to email the region any constructive feedback that we can do to bring you more value. I'm going to guess, love the cat, Mindy. She's she's a cutie. And if this is good, we'll try to do this once a quarter or something like this and get some different panelists on so you guys can all mastermind and grow. Any other thoughts or questions before we thank you for your time one last time and get the heck out of your way? So with that being said, folks, my request for you, bare your teeth at the demons that haunt you and stand between your goals and go out there and slay some dragons. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, panelists. That was very helpful.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.